Hello, everybody. Welcome to Virtual Fridays Diary Literary Series. And my name is Timothy Gager. And my feature tonight is Natalie Brobin. And Natalie's written a very interesting memoir. It's called Everyday Self-Care and the High Needs Child. And looking forward to it. It's Natalie's first book. And I've known Natalie for over a year. We met during COVID and we were in our same writing group, which is really awesome. But it's not all about that. It's about this wonderful book that I read, and it's gotten 45 reviews on Amazon, which is awesome. And I'm going to go right to Natalie's bio. After having a nervous breakdown in 2015 after the suicide death of her best friend, Natalie worked hard creating a new life full of hope, giving back, and surrounding herself with love. The experience has taught her just how important self-care is for everybody and wants to share what she has learned. Natalie is a Turner Syndrome advocate, writer, and speaker who has spent years volunteering or working on behalf of the Turner Syndrome Society of the United States, starting in 2005. And the screen's up. You all can read this, right? That's the advantage of Zoom. But check this out. To really check out her site, you can go to nataliebonfig.com. You can see that up in the top. But so that is fantastic. Everyone bookmark that. And enough from me. I'm really looking forward to hearing Natalie's reading and asking some questions.
Is that my cue to start?
Yes.
So here's my book, Everyday Self-Care and Your High Needs Child. I'm going to read chapter 1. It's called Breathe. And I start off with a quote from Thich Nhat Hanh. Breathe in deeply to bring your mind home to your body. I love all his stuff. Why am I having a hard time catching my breath? Why is my breath speeding up? What is going on? What should I do? I had my first panic attack the night my husband and I met with our daughter's doctor to discuss her rare genetic disorder called Turner syndrome. The attack started slowly, but then I found myself hyperventilating and could not stop. I'd never had one before. It was scary and I hated feeling out of control. After a 2-hour conversation about our daughter's diagnosis, our heads were spinning. When my husband went to bed, my thoughts quickly spun out of control. I had so many fears about her future and what this diagnosis would mean for her. She experienced open heart surgery as an infant, and getting this diagnosis 3 years later was another blow. There was possibility of additional health complications, learning problems, mental health issues, social concerns, and more that I would grasp in the years to come. The more my mind twisted out of control, my husband calls it my black hat death spiral, the more uneven my breathing became. I remember thinking, is this a panic attack? I didn't know what to do. I didn't want to wake up my husband because I knew sleep was his escape from our stressful conversation with the doctor. Luckily, I remembered a dear friend of mine who had shared her experience with panic attacks. I called her. She calmed me down by talking to me, encouraging me to drink water and to slow my breathing. It worked, and I was finally able to sleep. How have you reacted to bad news about your child's health, especially that first diagnosis? Did you have a panic attack? Did you hold your breath while you processed it? Did you hyperventilate and have a hard time getting in control of your breathing? Did you have an outburst of crying or even laughter in reaction? Looking back, I can see I did many of these over the years. Every family story is unique. Whether your journey as a parent of high needs child began with an illness, catastrophic event, or diagnosis, this shift almost always causes stress with the parents. And when we're stressed, it affects our breathing in many, many ways. None of us have to imagine the above scenario because we have lived them. It wasn't until I started taking yoga classes, going to retreats, and then took yoga teacher training that I realized how poorly I'd been breathing all these years, especially in dealing with my daughter's health concerns. Keep it simple, breathe. To take a deep breath, breathe in your nose for 5 seconds and out for 5 seconds. Do this for 10 breaths. You should start to feel your body calming down. One of the best things we can do for our self-care is to breathe. It sounds so simple, doesn't it? However, during our busy day, we may not notice our breathing is off. After all, we breathe normally whether we're focused on it, right? Wrong. Whether we're stressed and anxious, our abnormal breathing contributes to more stress. I can honestly say that breathwork has changed my life, how I feel in my body, At times, it felt like the anxiety was in charge and it was hard to get away from that feeling. Now I return to my breath in stressful situations and it makes all the difference. What are some abnormal ways we breathe? One, shallow breathing through our chests. The majority of us breathe like this daily, and I really had no idea I was doing this until I started doing breath work. Reverse breathing. Many of us have a tendency to suck in our stomachs when we inhale and then push our stomachs out when we exhale. This came up in my yoga teacher training, and many of us were breathing that way. Breath holding, especially in stressful situations. Boy, do I ever do this. Then I wonder why I'm so lightheaded. Overbreathing, hyperventilating, and not getting enough air. Sorry about that. There's a truck going by. I think the number one issue with hyperventilating is that even though you seem to be inhaling a lot of air, you're not. The desperation to get a full breath feeds on the panic, at least it does for me. Being too aware you're breathing, which makes you more anxious. This usually happens when I'm hyperventilating, but it can happen at other times as well. When we breathe abnormally, we don't take in enough oxygen to feed our cells, our organs, muscles, and more. Not breathing correctly can mess with our central nervous system and increase anxiety. It seems like it has a life of its own until I can calm myself down with some deep nostril breathing. Less oxygen means less energy produced to keep your body functioning at its highest level. Breath work is the number one tool in my self-care toolbox. During my yoga teacher training and yoga retreats, I've learned the keys to breathing correctly. It can take hours of practice, so don't expect instant results, but it is so, so worth it. One, breathe through your nose. It filters the air. Nostril breathing is also my personal cue to slow down. I use it throughout the day. Breathe with your diaphragm rather than your chest, also called belly breathing. If you've ever taken voice lessons, you know this is a basic skill for singing. Breathe relaxed, soften your belly. In our society, many of us suck in our stomachs when we breathe. To fill our diaphragm, we need to relax our bellies and let the oxygen fill us. Breathe deeply. Why? Inhaling deep breaths fills your body with oxygen you need for fuel, for being in the present moment, and hopefully clearing your mind. It is easier to focus on your breath. I know even after a few minutes of breath work, I feel so much better. And here's our many ways that breath work can help your body. Decreases your heart rate, lowers your blood pressure, reduces emotional and nervous anxiety, soothes and calms mind, brings oxygen to the blood, and slows your breathing down. Here are a few examples of breathing exercises to calm and center your mind. The 6-count belly breath. This practice slows down your heart rate and calms your nervous system. Put one hand on your stomach and another one on your diaphragm. Picture your torso as a glass, and when you breathe in through your nostril, you fill that glass from the bottom to the top, from your stomach up to your shoulders. And as you breathe out through your nostrils, you empty the glass from your shoulders down. I do this to a 6-count, but you can do whatever works for you as long as it's a long breath. Do this for 5 minutes. As your body calms down, you should feel your muscles loosen and your breath become more expansive. This is my go-to every day. Alternate nostril breathing. This practice balances the left and right side of your brain. Use a 4 to 6 count on each inhale and exhale. Use the thumb of your right hand to close your right nostril, then inhale through your left side. Then use the index finger of the right hand to close the left nostril and exhale. Then you inhale and exhale. Inhale, and you continue that for about 10 rounds. You're exhaling and inhaling on one side and then moving to the other side to exhale and inhale. Segmented breathing is another good one. The breath ratio includes inhale, hold, exhale, hold, and repeat. There are numerous ways to breathe this way. One example is box breathing. Inhale, hold, exhale, and hold to a count of 4, or 4-4-4-4 breathing. Another example is the 1-minute breath. The ultimate goal is to inhale for 20 seconds, hold for 20 seconds, and then exhale for 20 seconds. That's pretty hard at the beginning, so start with 8 seconds and work your way up. Most of us don't breathe correctly. We take shallow breaths, shit through our chests, and don't get enough oxygen in our systems. When we're stressed out or in panic mode, it's even easier for our breath to get out of control. Breath work can help you learn to breathe correctly. Start with the 6-count belly breathing, nostril breathing, and segmented breathing. Breathing is simple. Just do it. Was that good enough time?
Yeah, that was great. Thank you so much, Natalie.
Thank you.
So people can put some questions in the chat, but I want to open up with the very first line of your bio said that you suffered a nervous breakdown in 2015. Were you worried about that reveal or by just putting it out there in the world?
No, I mean, I've always been really open, and after my best friend died by suicide, I have done a lot of work on my mental health, and I just think it's better to be honest and open, and hopefully I can help someone, because a lot of us have experienced a suicide death in our lives, and everybody doesn't have to have a nervous breakdown like I did. But no, I'm not nervous. I'm just really open, and I want people to know that I'm honest and vulnerable.
What you read is one of the toolboxes for self-care, but the second part of your title is your high needs child. So Barbara wants to know, did you share your daughter's story in the book?
I did. Every chapter starts off with a story that's about her. Like there's a chapter on laughter, and I share a story of when she had her second open heart surgery at 20, and she came home from the hospital like after 4 days, and I was really nervous. So I said, "You sleep in the living room with me. You can sleep in the lazy boy, sitting up. I'll sleep on the floor, and I'll so I can get up with you." Well, I took my sleeping pill. She went to the bathroom by herself, and I snored so loud that I kept her awake all night. So so I do so there's a story about every thing that happened, and a lot of them are stressful. There's a chapter on hospitalizations and just knowing what to bring, because that first time you're in so much shock, you just have no idea. And the more times, unfortunately, a lot of these high needs parents, they know what to bring because they've been there so many times. But yeah, I do include a lot of her stories.
Now, how's your daughter? Here's a softball for you. How's your daughter doing now?
Well, she just finished her first year of medical school, so she is amazing. She's had 2 open heart surgeries. She has Crohn's disease, celiac disease. I mean, you name it. So a couple of you got to meet her. She was here. She's here for a visit. So I am so proud of her. So proud of her.
Now, other parents of high needs children, it may not be medical needs, are these techniques in your book? I've read the book, there are more than just the breathing techniques. There are other things that you can do, but are these techniques for everybody or for every parent, or are they for every parent that might have a child that takes a lot of energy?
They're really for everybody. The first 6 chapters are breathe, it's breathe, be kind to yourself, find your quiet time, stay in the present moment, find positive outlets for your stress, and take care of your body. So the first 6 chapters, even though they start off with a story involving my daughter, they're really for anyone. And I did interview some parents of kids with mental health challenges as well as addiction challenges. So those are peppered throughout the book.
Now, what happens if you're so stressed or traumatized, or it's just so hard that you reach a level of depression that you can't initiate these things? What would you tell those people?
Go see a professional. And I actually tell everybody to go see a therapist. And I think, all of us have difficulties in our lives. And yeah, if you're that depressed, you need to. I used my anxiety to learn everything I could about Turner syndrome and became an expert on it, actually. And so that's how I channeled all my energy.
Also, I've heard that helping other people can help yourself. So what I found really fascinating in your book is you talk to a lot of other parents that experience a lot of different types of things. Can you, tell me a little bit about that and that process of getting?
Oh yeah. So I interviewed either in person or over the phone about 9 of the people, and they were mothers of daughters with Turner syndrome, high school friends. So it was people I kind of knew. And then I did a Survey Monkey, and I got a lot more input from that. And the people were really honest and really straightforward with their answers. I mean, I was really surprised at the vulnerability that people showed. And I think it just made the book even better because it wasn't just me, and all about me, 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 me. It was, you could tell that I'd done the work to get some other opinions.
And what were some of the challenges that those people were dealing with?
autism, Turner syndrome, obviously, kids with heart problems. I'm also was in a heart group when she was younger because she had open heart surgery. Um, other mental health issues, heroin addiction, alcohol addiction. Um, let me think what else. Those are the, diabetes and arthritis. Those are the big ones.
So you put a lot of energy into these things and these things previous to the book. When did you realize that you needed to write this?
I actually went to a trauma treatment center about 3 years ago. I spent 2.5 months there to deal with all my trauma after my girlfriend died. And we did all these assignments. We wrote by hand. And I'm actually a journalism major. And I got back from there feeling really, really good. And I knew, and my daughter was getting older, and I had all this knowledge about Turner syndrome, and I didn't know what to do with it. So this book was kind of I wanted to give back to the community. I wanted to help other parents because it was just so lonely at times and so tough because people don't understand this. Try as they might, your family and friends that aren't experiencing it just don't understand. And it's really stressful. And so that was I started it probably 2.5 years ago. And I took some breaks on purpose. And, then I finally published it. And then right when I was going to publish, my husband asked for a divorce. So that delayed it again.
That wasn't related to the book then, right?
No. He just added to my trauma.
Connected. Now, you said you have a journalism degree. What sort of journalism was your main focus when you were in your studies?
I actually was in the advertising sequence. So it was more about writing ad copy and things like that. But I think it's funny that it took me this long to actually write a book. I've always wanted to write a book. And, I think most little kids think they're going to do that. And so kind of fulfilled a lifelong dream.
Now, you released the book during the pandemic. Did you have a chance to do any live readings, or did you feel that you missed out by not doing in-person readings or appearances?
Yeah, I didn't get to do that. And I also moved to California in September. So I don't really know anybody where I'm living in Southern California. I really wanted to do one at the hospital in Minnesota, the Children's Hospital, that she had her one at 20 as well, but they don't let anybody in there anymore. So good question.
Now, who are your writing mentors that inspired you to write this book? Or do you read other memoirs that sort of paved the way for you?
I read a lot. I read everything that's put in front of me. Anna David is the one who published my book, and I read her stuff, and she's really been an inspiration. Just her style of writing is really breezy, and she helped me get my book out. So she's one person that I really, really admire. But yeah, I read everybody. I really don't have that many favorites. Put a book in front of me and I'll read it.
Now, you said that you put the book down in the middle of writing it. So what made you go back to it? What kind of kept you going? Did you ever want to quit in the middle of writing it?
Right before I was going to publish it, I had that imposter syndrome. And I'm like, who do I think I am that I can write a book and tell people how to take care of their stress? That everybody, I brought it up in our writing group and people responded that that's all normal. And but I paused the first time because I knew I needed to step back for like 6 months. And the second time I paused because I was in another stressful situation and knew that my head wasn't in the right place. So I hired a self-publishing company, which is Launchpad Publishing, and that's how I got it published.
Now, when you're writing about traumatic, difficult things, for you personally, did you ever get re-traumatized during this process?
I wrote a lot of articles. The Mighty is a site that they publish like 20 of my articles, and I wrote a lot of those. And I will say that sometimes yes, but when you write down traumatic things and then you have to tighten it up, fix the grammar for public consumption, it moves away from you, kind of like you do in EMDR. I mean, it really is not. It's not part of you anymore. It's more a story about someone else. And I think for me, writing the book was equally as therapeutic as I hope it will be for other people.
So do you recommend then like high school creative writing for people going through trauma? You know, they can do the corrections and
Maybe not high school.
that's another tool. You can add that in your second book.
Well, they use it in therapy. So yes, if you're in a trauma treatment or alcohol treatment, yes, it'd be great.
Now, what do you think parents and in particular that are having these challenges, why do you think that they don't take care of themselves?
Why they don't?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, in my website, I talk about it. And when you have a sick child, you do anything that you can to make them well. And I know with my daughter, I used to say, I'll give her my heart. And I did, I did everything for I had two other kids that were really active. And so I had three buggers, just busy, 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 the stress of my daughter. And I would have done anything to make her life better. And I didn't make my life better. That's why I wrote this. So hopefully other parents can learn from that. But yeah.
All right, I'm going to finish up. Oh, there is another. How did you find a good doctor for your daughter?
We started out with several, and then I got rid of them as like the first cardiologist misdiagnosed how severe her heart was. So we got a second opinion and had open heart surgery within a couple days. And once you're part of a system, like in Minnesota, I was part of the children's hospital system. And so I found a lot of the doctors that way. And through referrals from other doctor, like my second opinion for my daughter's cardiac surgeon was from my family practice doctor. I went to an ENT that was like the best ENT in the cities. She spent 2 minutes with me. No, 10. Okay, I'm exaggerating. And said, compared to open heart surgery, it's a breeze. Well, it was like 6 months later and I was still just suffering so much stress. And so I switched to her. I switched to one of the people in her practice and he spent 45 minutes with me. So yeah, the kind of trial and error is how I did it. And I was really comfortable with moving on to a different doctor as well.
Okay, another question in the chat from John is, how did you find a good trauma center to deal with your own grief? And was there a lot of trial and error in that process?
It was on this Recovery 2.0 site where I've done a bunch of yoga retreats. And one day, I can't remember, Tommy asked for us to put pictures of us doing something outside. And somebody had a picture of a book called The Trauma Heart. And I went, oh, and that just stuck with me. Well, I read it and it was about the woman who started this trauma treatment center called The Refuge in Aqualaha, Florida. And so I started planning. I mean, I went to treatment sober and all that because I knew I needed something more to get me off the path that I was on. And they're really great. So I recommend it to anyone. They're really good.
All right. And to wrap up, did your daughter read the book and what was her impressions? And did she give you a review on Amazon?
She did not read the book. But she's really, really proud of me. She is really good with her own mental health and didn't think that maybe reading some of the stories, because she knows how much stress I had. And I do explain to her that there's other things in my life that led to that nervous breakdown. But I admire her for sticking to her guns and, but she's really proud of me and she tells me that all the time.
All right. Well, this was an awesome reading and appearance, Natalie, and I really appreciate you coming on to talk to us. So what's your favorite store? Where can people pick up your book?
You can find it on Amazon and you can find it on Barnes & Noble and pretty much almost any online outlet you can find it because they all order from the same places.
And if someone would like to be on your mailing list, would you leave your email address in the chat?
Yes, I will.
That's fantastic. Thanks, and thanks very, very much. This is the part of the evening that I turn off the streaming. So if you're watching this on Facebook, thank you very much. If you want to help out with the Q&A in 2 weeks, because next week we're off, use the Zoom link, and also you can be part of the open mic with that. So thanks again, Natalie, and we'll see you soon.